Welcome, Japan.
Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of Why Come Japan. I'm your host, Mr. Radrey, and here today it is just me giving you a little update on the Why Come Japan, dare I say, brand. Maybe some people hate that moniker, but I figured, I've been over 30 guests, I guess 15 so far this year, ones I've actually really recorded, opposed to, the other 15 that I did and back in 2016, 2017. So yeah, I've been doing a lot of these new interviews this year. So I figured, I want to talk to you guys. I never really have a chance to just, divulge my mind or divulge my thoughts, my thought process about what's going on. Because I do have a lot of thoughts about what I've been doing with all these. And, give this like some sort of direction, so I'm not just some face that listens to other people talk. I want to hear what other people have to say, but at the same time, there's not really much of me doing much talking. Sometimes maybe some of my guests ask me questions about how the show's doing, blah, 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 but I don't really go into too much detail, but I wanted to. So that's what this is. So basically the plans for Why Come Japan is, I'm planning to make more episodes, but there is a bit of a problem I'm going to be running into the next couple of months. I am kind of running out of guests, which means I'm probably going to have to be going up to probably future events, probably going to comedy shows or doing a bunch of searches online randomly for people. See, that's the biggest thing is I've made all these episodes and I've kind of seen myself evolve in a lot of ways. Talking to all of these people, which has been very kind of therapeutic for myself. I think I'll start with Simon. Simon Ochanama. If you watched Simon Ochanama's episode, I asked him particularly, how do you ask guests, like ones you don't have you don't know anything about them? How do you get them to be on the show? And basically, if you didn't watch the episode or if you don't remember or you just like me hear me say it again, or, whatever. Basically what I got from that is Simon says that you need to sort of build this kind of rapport. Actually, some people in the comments said this as well. I can't remember. I think it was Totally ASMR, one of the commenters. Anyway, they said that you really need to build a rapport with the guest. This goes to like going to their videos, commenting on their work, making friends with some of their friends, which in itself is a lot of work. But on the other hand, I have like my other guest who I did earlier this year. What's his name? Oh, how could I forget it? ALT Insider Podcast, James, where he mentioned that, he goes in ramming speed, just asking random people and not really being offended if one of them says no. So I'm probably going to be doing both techniques. It's a little hard, to ask people to be on a podcast, kind of a chat and chill podcast like this, and particularly for a subject called Why Come Japan, a kind of a question a lot of foreigners kind of hate in particular, because it's not a question that people love. But I really enjoy the question. I do see how it's kind of can be condescending for some people, because I've said this before. It's a lot of times people say these things where, Japanese people in particular ask you why come Japan, to make themselves feel proud. Some people could say that, but I'm not exactly sure I would say something like that, because sometimes it has a deeper philosophical meaning, and that's what I get out of it. Maybe that's not what they wanted. Maybe they wanted probably something simplistic, like, oh, I came for sushi, or I loved that one episode of Dragon Ball Z that nobody else cares about. But in particular, I think it's a great question. So that's why I've named the show this. And there's also a couple of ideas I had for like a sketch. Maybe if you remember the Tikio Sam interview, I did a Tikio Sam interview where I talk about this sketch, the Why Come Japan sketch, where I talk about how the sketch was really important to me. And hold on. How the sketch was really important to me. And how it kind of led to the creation of the show. Yeah. So anyway, So plans for getting future guests. I do have plans to get more future guests on this show. This includes, boy, I did not bring my notebook, but I have a lot of ones I have in mind. I'll just say all the ones that are off the top of my head because I don't want to get up and go get my notebook because it's halfway across the other side of the room. Unless you want me to, say something in the comments if you are curious or not. One or the other. So one person I was really considering was, well, I mean, definitely that's going to be on the show because he's in my circle of friends. Oh, that was something I was going to say. Because my mind's kind of all over the place because sometimes when you do these self-vlogs, you kind of like, it's a stream of consciousness. So often when you're asking for guests to be on a show like this, it's best to stay. I mean, I know it's best to work outside your comfort bubble, but not to work too much outside your comfort bubble because it's easier to get people within your circle, your group, but eventually you do need to branch out and look for more people, especially if I want to grow a show like this. So that being said, the first person I'd really like to get on the show who is inside the circle, somebody I'd like chatting to, who's a very smart guy. Hiko Simon, of course, he's somebody that everybody knows and loves on the community, and he's very friendly, and he does vlogs like this every day, not vlogs, live streams like this every day. Not every day. Like Tokyo Tonight is a show he used to do every week, but he doesn't do it anymore. So that was something that he did. Another person. Okay, so going outside the bubble that is the YouTube JVlog community, the ones that I've been a part of for so many years. One person I was thinking about having, I'm not sure if this will work, but there's always I mean, I don't know. I was thinking there's one. I'm not sure if anybody watches the Game Theorists on YouTube. There was one Game Theorist, a part of that, named Gaijin Goomba. I'm a big fan of his videos. I'm a big fan of his video essays that he does where he talks about Japanese culture and culture from all over the world. That was somebody I'd be very I'd love to have on this show, and I'd love to chat and chill with him. But he's probably busy as hell, and he probably doesn't want to chat with some rando on the internet, But I don't know. He seems like on his Twitter that he's very fond of like younger growing channels. So I was thinking maybe I'd hit him up on Patreon because he has one perk where he says you'll give a one-on-one hour Skype session, maybe turning that into an episode. I don't know. I'm going to give it a try because I think he would be a very interesting person to have on the show. Another person who I'd like to have on the show, actually, I think I probably shouldn't divulge this information, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't really know if much people know where I live, but I'm not going to say it. If you do enough research and you dig in my videos well enough, you could probably figure out where I live. But I've been running into the Anime Man a lot. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. I should say 2 times. What do they say? 2 times is a coincidence. 3 times, that means there's a pattern. So I'd like to be able to get somebody like, I mean, this is another huge YouTuber. I mean, like, this is like the 1 million subscriber club. You kind of have to bang out your chops. I mean, like, numbers are very important for people when you have that many subscribers. So, I mean, I made up these business cards by one of the guests that's going to be on this show coming soon. His name is Benji. I'm not sure if he wants me to say his last name on here. So let's say Benji from Atlas Kane Graphics. He made the new logo that you see that I want to use right now. This doesn't mean that I'm abandoning the old one. Maybe I might go back to it at some point to do the video essays, which I never really have time to make, but I'm trying to push time to make it. So in particular, getting Yanime Man will definitely be a challenge. So I'm working hard at making a really cool ass business card, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Other person I want like having the show, I mean, another big I would even say the biggest person in Japan, or I'd like to say the biggest J vlogger, because I want to call the Anime Man or Gaijin Gooba J vloggers. I mean, maybe you could. I'm not sure. They don't seem like they fit the mold, so to say. But another one of course, abroad in Japan. I mean, going back to another episode that I did with Victor from Frame of Travel, who is also good friends with Chris abroad. yeah, getting abroad in Japan with the show would be a major, major accomplishment for me. A big thing. I'd probably need to build the show a lot more because otherwise, if I don't have abroad, the only way to get probably abroad in Japan in the show is like if this show probably had a sponsor or if it grew a little bit to whereas like I stopped using Google Hangouts like I do now, or I use something. I use Slobs, Streamlabs. Open broadcast system or is it software? I don't know. Using one of those programs to, it's a little bit more professional, but not too much. I mean, you don't have the Google watermark on the side. That way that's eliminated. I know it's still kind of amateur, but I mean, I still love the amateur. I really like it. Yes, as that guy Fox in chat says, abroad in Japan is huge. So that would be, it'd be a big major stepping stone for this channel, and it'd probably be difficult to get him on a show like this. But I mean, he does his own podcast, so as some people mentioned that a lot of famous people with like maybe the H3 podcast and abroad in Japan, they only really do a podcast after they have kind of a big brand on YouTube already, where they make a certain line of videos that they're popular for. And I mean, yeah, I'm still trying to make time into my ever busy schedule to like make some of these videos, and I'm trying to shuffle things and rearrange everything so that in the future there will be videos on this channel that's not just Why Come Japan, because I mean I love making this podcast, but it's not always something that it's more of just a pet project. I mean, other things I really wanted to work on more. I guess I've gotten more into making vlogs. I'm not really particularly into them because I feel it's like showing like a fake version of yourself. But at the same time, I realize YouTube, what it is really is just sharing. You're sharing information with other people, things that you want to show to other people. You know, I want to show you my book collection, or I want to show you what my life is like when I go to the convenience store, or something simple like that. And I mean, I guess those could be classified as vlogs. So I will be doing stuff like that in the near future, and I kind of want to flesh out the ideas. I don't want to just be this kind of stream of consciousness stuff where I shoot something with my iPhone, I come home and I upload it, and it's just sort of there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. So having kind of like an edited version of these videos put up on this channel is something I'm sort of planning. Yeah, so like go back to what I was saying is that how podcasting is something that a lot of big YouTubers, they're usually, it's only something they do after their channel gets huge. I know. But I mean, I only really make this show for the benefit of myself, really, because I like having long, decent chill and chat conversations with my friends and random creatives online. And that being said, let's get to the next person I'm planning having the show. I guess I'll just mention the next person that comes to my mind is there's a Ustreamer named Ayano. I've met her once. I don't think anybody really knows of her. I probably put her name in the chat. She's had an amazing transformation. I mean, she used to be like a Ustreamer back when like streaming before it was really a thing. And then she became a bodybuilder or something, and she was obsessed with Apple. And I'm not sure. I think she just goes under the handle Ayano. I mean, that's it's a very common Japanese name, so it's not something everybody really knows. So, I mean, I'll probably have to find her name here in the chat. Ayano streamer. Put it in the chat here. She's kind of a friend of a friend. I'm not sure if she would be willing to do a long podcast because she does speak English. Because primarily, man, I want the show to be in English. I mean, I could do a show in Japanese, but that'd be very hard to listen to on iTunes, especially considering probably, I'd say majority of my audience probably only speaks English. Robert in the chat says, like collaborating with Eric Surf 6 was so cool. I actually, we're planning a collaboration with Eric Surf 6 tomorrow, actually. It's another Eric Mealtime video. If you want, I can tell you what it is. If you want to know, I can tell you right now. If you want to know, I can tell you. Say something in the chat if you want to know. Yeah, I'm having trouble finding Ayano here. I assure you she's a really big Ustreamer. I'll put it in the description below after after this live show is finished, and it's on iTunes. So you'll see that. I'm not sure if she'd be interested in doing a podcast, kind of a sit, chat, and chill, but we'll see. Okay, Robert does want to know. We're going to a Szechuan Chinese place tomorrow. Szechuan Chinese, I mean, the whole Rick and Morty Szechuan sauce. So I'm definitely going to be throwing a lot of jokes like those around. And I'm going to be making my own vlog of it as well. So Eric's always great. I mean, I did an interview with him on this podcast. If you haven't listened to it, you should go listen to it. I mean, Eric's always fun. I think the best thing about the Eric interview is that we got to see him eat while doing the interview. And since that's what he's known for, being the Eric mealtime guy. Other people will be on this podcast, I guess, which is in with it. Going back to my circle, I'm just going through names that I think that would be a good fit for this channel. Just Japan, which is also formerly Busan Kevin. He has a big podcast on Japan, basically, even though he lives in China. I'd kind of like to, pick his brain a bit to see what life's like doing podcasting and what life in China is like, because I'm with a Chinese girlfriend, so I have that experience. So I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he'd probably be okay with it. Probably wouldn't be that hard to get him on the show, but I'll probably message him at some point later. Let's see. Who else am I thinking about having on the show? I probably should really go get that book. They'll probably come to Tokyo Lens, Norm. He was over on my friend of the show, Simon Ochanama, one of my older episodes. He was on his show. I think he will be a guest on the show as well. I don't really know him, and he doesn't really know me. I met him briefly at the 2018 Hanami. And I really like some of his videos. I mean, they're really well put together. They're very polished. They're very beautiful to watch. So that would definitely be something. Let's see. Who else am I looking at right now? That's all I can really think of off the top of my head. I'll go get the book at the end here, but there are some other things I wanted to say. Basically, the goal with this podcast is just to make it more of a thing, to keep it going, and to be making it this chill and chat place where I can go when I can have these long conversations with like-minded creators when we're not working on bigger collaboration projects. Because primarily, focusing all my efforts on bigger projects. That's kind of why a lot of times you hear about all these smaller projects people do, and they always take off because your full effort's not always into it. So I mean, I do want to work on other things, but this is what is moving forward right now. And I mean, I do a lot of this for free, and I mean, I want to keep on doing this for free. I mean, I know it's kind of to me, sometimes it feels like a thankless job, and I'm kind of putting myself out there in the void of the internet. Robert in the chat says, will Saki make an appearance too? I'd like to have her on the show. I'm contemplating her, because I mean, she would be a good entry on the show. I don't know too much. I mean, it kind of feels redundant in a way. I mean, I'm not saying that she's not going to be on the show, but I have to think about I have to feel like these kind of questions that I want to ask her. This is going to sound bizarre, but sometimes, have you ever had this thing where you kind of feel like you have this telepathy, like when you want to call somebody, but there's something in when you're about to call someone, and then they're like, hey, I just felt like I was going to call you, or I felt like calling you. That sort of thing. I mean, it kind of feels like with Asagi, maybe at some point in time when I feel the timing is right, because I kind of pushed a lot of other guests off, because I feel like the timing just isn't right. Because I feel like when this show evolves a little bit more, I'll formulate kind of these questions to where I'm kind of curious about their creative process and my own creative process in a way. So the show feels like it's evolving with me, instead of it just being this dull, bland kind of interview talk show. Okay, I'll go to another interview I had. with Give Me a Break, Man. Most recently, the most recent episode, which is going to be edited and put on this channel soon, and on iTunes as well. He was talking about how what's particularly interesting is how interviews sometimes, like interviews themselves, they ask these questions where the guest and the interview, they both know the answer to these questions. They just want them to say it. They want them to admit something. Or in my sake, sometimes I only do these interviews to basically understand, for more clarity about certain people, about the way certain people feel and how they think and that sort of thing. Let's see here. Why come other notes I have here is, like I said, Why Come Japan has taken me on a journey, and the journey I am on now. I guess. Oh, I should also mention for future guests, there was one guest on the show, Mr. Jimmy L. Sanchez. I should really message him. I can't remember what number he was, but he was one of the guests on the show, and he asked me to be on the show. I didn't ask him, which was really surprising. I mean, I wouldn't think anybody would want to be on this show unless I asked them. So, I mean, that's just me being honest. But I do accept anybody who wants to be in the show, who wants to like talk about who they are or what kind of craft they have. I'd be happy to interview you. Just give me some kind of, well, we could talk or something privately just so I can get a better idea of what kind of person you are and what your reaction is to the podcast and how you feel about the podcast. And basically that's it. So that was a very special interview. I'm so glad that Jimmy did it. It was very interesting. I mean, there is kind of those awkward moments, like when you meet somebody for the first time and you don't know what their real intentions of meeting you are. Like maybe sometimes they meet you because they're looking for a friend, because that's mostly what I'm doing a lot of the time. Because like sometimes when after you get out of college and then you're looking for a job, and basically you just kind of lose all your friends because your friends kind of disappear. They either they get married or have kids, or they're working at a job that works on the death, or they're living with their mom or dad, or they're living somewhere else, right? So I mean, that's partially why I kind of started this podcast in a way too, was to really build more of a foundation, a connection with other people. Let's see here. Simon Ochanama in the chat. What did I miss? I'm in the supermarket car park again. Yes, Simon always watches this show when he's shopping. I wonder why that is. I guess Why Come Japan goes great with shopping. So let's see. Yeah, so that's basically all the future guests I have in mind. I need to go get that book. Hold on one moment. I don't have the away message up. Oh, maybe I do. I don't know if Google will let me do that. Away message. I should probably stop using Google Hangouts. I mean, it's easy, it's fun, and like the best part about Google Hangouts is like when I'm talking, then the guest talks. Maybe you can set this up in OBS. I'm just lazy. I haven't looked it up. But like when you talk and then the guest talks, the guest's voice gets picked up and it cuts to the guest. And then when your voice talks, it picks up to the other guest. That's the only reason why I use this Google Hangouts, because I love that feature. But probably there's something on OBS that can do that as well. I'm just lazy. So let's see here. I don't see a feature that lets me put away an away message, so I'll just run and go get it. I mean, it's just across the room. So hold on. I should put something in this place. Be right back. Be right back. Let's put this here. Nico Doga. Be right back. Hold on a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Got the list here. You can look it up and talk about what it is we are going to talk about. Actually, I don't really even need the headphones. I'm not even sure why I put them on. Probably just a habit. That guy Fox, I'm in Osaka. I'd love to talk to you too if you have with me. Oh, that guy Fox. Okay, I will consider you. I'll put you down on the list. Thanks. It is always interesting to meet new people and talk to them all the time. Simon Chanama, I have a YouTuber and another actor I'm trying to get as guests for the next month. Kiki's my last guest this month, and I have Shivers' sister next week. I know Shivers is she's doing the Halloween thing, so you couldn't get her. But anyway, I can't believe I forgot to mention Q Ranger. I'm not sure if Q Ranger will do an interview. I'd have to talk to him, probably privately, to see if he would have, or if he would be interested in doing an interview. Just get the microphone, or not the microphone, the camera a little closer to me. Because I am definitely interested in his path and how he's lived in Korea for such a long time, and he visited here in Japan, and I really didn't get much time to talk to him. So I would kind of like to pick his brain to see what Korea is like and what he thinks of Japan and doing the news. I'm not sure if he can actually do interviews, but I guess I'll find out. Another one is former guest on Simon Ochanima's channel, friend of the show, is Caffeine Jedi. Caffeine or Caffeine Jedi. I think it's Caffeine Jedi. Caffeine Jedi would be a very interesting person to have on the show. I mean, I'm good friends with her, Stephanie. She's always fun. She's pretty good at putting up with my nonsense. So I've known her for a long time too, and she's kind of relocated to England. She lived in Japan when I was living here, so it would be interesting to connect with her. It was very interesting meeting her in person. She seemed like a much different person, but that's just me. I have not watched Simon Ochanima's interview with her. I should watch that at some point. I'll have to wait till she's given birth. Yeah, that's true. Stephanie has... I'm reading in the chat, Simon Ochanima wrote, yeah, Stephanie has just given birth, or hasn't given birth to a baby. She's probably pretty stressed out with that right now, so I'll probably wait until that happens. Actually, probably a lot of her focus will be going towards that baby, but you never know. That guy Fox in chat says you should reach out to RG. Who's RG? RG. I feel like I should know who that is. I'm not sure who RG is. I'm sorry. that guy Fox. Sorry. Let's see here. RG. I feel like I should know who that is. So another person on the show that I'd like to have, Ryman Gaijin. Oh, that's right. Ryman Gaijin. That's right. Okay. Yeah, sure. Actually, that's a good idea. Matt would be a good maybe he doesn't want me to say his real name. His former name. Manifesto. That was his real name. Manifesto would probably be a good person to have on this show. Oh, actually, that reminds me. I've met Baye. Baye, what's his last name? He wrote, I'm racist and that's okay. Or, no, I'm not racist. Or, I'm loco. Or, shoot, what is it? Baye Michaels. Shoot, he's going to hate me for forgetting his name. He has a very distinct name. McNeil. Thank you. Thank you, Andy Son in the chat. By McNeil. He seems very friendly and he's written a lot of books. So I'd like to pick. I imagine he's going to be writing another book at some point. So I imagine that'd be a good time to interview him at some point. He always goes to YouTube events, so he would be a good candidate, I'd say, for the show. There's a couple of others, and there's a few in here probably nobody knows. I'm not sure if they can even do interviews. One of them is my friend Sebastian, who works at Google, but I doubt he could probably do an interview because, when you work at headquarters, I doubt they want you to show you how all the bugs or how the algorithm works. That's a big secret, right? Let's see here. Who's on my next? Somebody like, I would really like to get to somebody big like Charla on this show. Because I know Eric Surf 6 is friends with her, but I've kind of missed the wave of when she was really popular here when she was in Japan. So I think I kind of missed that boat. We'll see when that happens. Ozzy Awesome was Alex FH. Ozzy Awesome was on this show a couple of episodes ago. So I don't know. Unless there's something I desperately want to ask him, maybe I'll have him be on the show again. For now, unless he comes to me, then yes. But then no, I won't have him on the show unless he comes to me or I feel this kind of need to interview him again. I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, if I ever do any more collabs or something, or if he needs me for a collab, I probably will be willing to do something with him. Andy San in the chat says, when I did last Japan meetup, I accidentally introduced him as Bay. I said it Baye. Yeah. No, I said Bay as well. Yeah. That's Salt Bay. Yeah, no, Alex FH. It's one of the older episodes. I mean, I even in the episode, I even say about Ozzy that I should have was about Ozzy. Oh, I should probably do the interview again. But the more I listen to it, I'm like, no, it was a very interesting interview, and I thought it would suffice the time that I wanted to interview him and the stuff that I needed from him. So, Andy's on the chat. I remember the first meeting Ozzy at the Hanami party many years ago when PDR-san photobombed him in one of my videos. Had no idea who PDR-san was at the time. Yeah, PDR-san, don't really know him. All I know is he makes a lot of videos with Mime, former guest on this show as well. I'm glad that she was part of the show. I probably won't ask her to be on the show again because there's nothing I really want to ask her. Like I said, this show is basically created for myself. I mean, call it selfish, but it's like to me as evolve as a person and for like, other people to talk about who they are as people. I mean, maybe I shouldn't keep it as something. I'd like to think of myself as altruistic, but maybe it's not. I'm not sure. I mean, it is my show, so whatever. Simon Ochanama, we got drunk when he was on my show. Oh, by McNeil. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess he would probably be a great candidate. He seems very down to earth and very easy to talk to. And I've read a couple of his articles on Japan Times, and he seems like a very intelligent person. So I've never had a chance to actually sit down and talk to him or have a beer or a drink or anything with him because, how it is at YouTube Hanami parties, it's kind of, you only have so much time and selective time. Actually, I don't think he was at the Hanami. He was at the last meetup, which only goes on for 3 hours, and it's like a drinking party and whatever. So as I was mentioning, I would like to have Charlotte on the show. She interviewed Mad Pat over on the Game Theorist channel, one of my biggest heroes on YouTube. I mean, he just seems like he's excruciatingly busy. And I mean, it'd be a miracle if I ever met him or got to interview him. I mean, I'd love to, but I'm nowhere near his level of how much work he puts in and how much math he does and everything. So it feels like a complete pipe dream. Which, speaking of pipe dreams, I mean, there was that one time when there was that one time when I met, or I didn't meet him. I chatted with PewDiePie on Twitter about getting him set up at the robot restaurant, but I think that's also probably not going to be a reality. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I should be more positive. I'm not sure. It's like that book, The Secret, using the self-fulfilling prophecy and applying it to everything. I mean, PewDiePie was on the H3 podcast and he wasn't in their studio. So I get this feeling like he probably doesn't really do podcasts and he's probably really busy. I mean, PewDiePie always makes videos all the time, and we'll see. Going back, I was kind of jumping around there. So Charlotte's a person I'd like to have on this show, but I mean, like, she's in Korea now, so I don't think that's possible. I mean, she interviewed Matt Pat from the Game Theorists, another really big channel. But we'll see. I'm going to see Eric tomorrow, Eric Surf 6, and I will pick his brain about that. So, boy. Okay. So, let's see who's next on my list. Rachel and June, also probably a really big channel. Not sure if they would do a small show like this. I think they did Simon Ochanama's back when it was 3 old dudes. I think they did a show like that, but they're probably too busy making videos and having schedules, before they can do a small show like this. Simon Ochanama in the chat says, I'm curious about your parents being on your show. Yeah, so I've actually asked my parents to be on the show. I mean, my stepdad is one person who actually a big listener of this show. He always listens to it when it goes on iTunes. So, I mean, there are certain things I want to ask them, basically how how they got to make me and things like that. And basically, a lot of things about Japan, what they like about Japan. I mean, if you're familiar with, I'm like, I mentioned this podcast all the time, but the H3 podcast, I got this kind of idea from him because he interviewed his parents, and I found it very interesting because they are having more of a real conversation where they're talking a lot about their health problems, which I found incredibly fascinating. You know, just listening to people talk about their health. I don't know, maybe maybe that's an old man thing. You start talking about your health all the time. Anti-Son, you really want to know how they made you? Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's not scientifically, you know, not physically. I mean, like how something came to be. That's that's what the Anti-Son's saying in the chat. Anyway, yes. So I don't know. I mean, like everybody likes it. When I say how they came to make me, what I mean by that is a timeline, having a story, having a context, you know, because everybody, I think, or at least I feel, every guest has a story, and they can have a story to tell you. So Simon Achanam in the chat says, interesting idea. Can't see my parents willing to do that. Yeah, so that is very true. So next on my list is Kid Show Review Ken. He does a lot of videos where he talks about old video games that he picks up. I'm thinking about having him on the show because I like old Japanese video games, and he talks a lot about them. And he's been making videos for a long time, and he always does pickup videos. And he's I want to say he seems like he has a lot of interesting things to say. So I'm not sure if he'd be interested in doing a long form podcast like this. We will see. I will ask him privately. That guy Fox in chat says, I personally followed you because you are a film producer. Yeah, well, not producer. Producers have money. I will get back to doing a film. There is a couple of films I have in mind, which is going to take some... Actually, here's the big thing about making movies. I should probably say this. I mean, I've said this in other podcasts, if anybody's listened or remembers, or basically, I need to take some time and edit the rest of these other films, and they'll be finished at some point. I don't know when, probably, hopefully this year, but I keep saying that. And eventually I want to move on to another film I made for, I wrote the script. I want to make sure that everything's in working order before I get started. There's the one called HIV 48, which I want to make, kind of a parody of AKB 48. And then there's another one called, I'm guessing the working title right now is The Galapagos Syndrome. Kind of a Five Nights at Freddy's influence kind of horror story, but set in Japan. But that's both of these are work in progress. So the thing about film is that everything kind of has to be put together pretty well, you know, otherwise, because like I've said in other interviews, and Academy's interview in particular, if you remember, Academy, friend of the show, I was telling him a lot of things could go wrong. So I don't want to spend this whole podcast just talking about the problems with filmmaking. So I'll get back to the guests. Andy-san, Jim's good people. He's a fellow veteran as well. Went to school at the gym on the GI Bill. Could hit him up at local film schools. Oh, Andy-san talks also, you could hit up local film schools and arts department to help you out in the experience. Yes. Getting people is not the problem with making movies. Finishing it and making sure everything runs on time and everything looks the way you do, that's definitely a big problem. That was the biggest problem with the Republican and Daikonashi is that not being able to visualize exactly what you wanted, what you needed, which kind of puts it into editing hell. You know, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to end it. You don't know how to make a satisfying product. Because basically, I mean, I've said this 100 times. I'll say it again. I mean, I've shown it to people, and it's just like, yeah, that's a train wreck, but it is salvageable. I can fix it at some point. Let's see. HIV 48 sounds like gold. It is. It's a good story. I really like it, but I'm still working out the kinks, and I want to make sure everything's in apple pie order, as they say. Yana YZ is super nice. She lives in Osaka, and she has a vlog named Curly and Kansai. Okay, yeah, I'll give her a look. Actually, that reminds me, somebody who's not on this list who I've thought about interviewing, who's wrote some comments, nice comments on this channel a while back. I think over like a year ago, maybe more than a year ago. What's her name? Christina. What's her name? She's like half black or something. I don't know. She's the other. She's a very. She's I don't know. What adjectives would I use to describe her? She's very popular on YouTube. I can say that much. She seemed to like my channel, which is always a positive. So, I mean, it's always good to get a different perspective on things when you talk to other YouTubers. So I would like to have her on the show at some point. I don't know if she's up for collabing, so we'll see. Done is better than perfect. Andy saw it in the chat, says, yeah, done is definitely better than perfect. I mean, basically it shows like the things that you have done on the channel. But I don't want it to be particularly why it hasn't been done is because I don't want it to be something to where I have to come back to it. And like, no, I wanted to fix this. No, I wanted to fix that. I just want to be able to have it to a point where it's like I don't have to think about it anymore. Let's see here. There's a lot of videos on mine that I'm not satisfied with, but I continue to tweak and peek at it. It would never been done if I released it in the first place. Yes, that is true. I mean, there is some videos that just need to be released. But it's just sort of like you can have the argument that certain things need to be like when something's not done, you can obviously tell it's not done. You know, it's like when you go to a movie and Tom Cruise is about to, or like, no, let's just use an example. Tom Cruise is about to finish, I don't know, kill the bad guy, then it's over. You're like, what? What happened? You know, you know, sometimes the stuff can be fixed in editing and. A lot of things in Hollywood are fixed this way, and I mean, I'm only working by myself, so I mean, this stuff can be done, and it will be at some point. But anyway, that's the reason why. That's the state it's at right now. Is that you'd see it and you'd wonder, like, I thought it's not finished, you know. So, and there is a way to finish it. So, Andy-san says, plus that we improve in creators' online time. First version of the project won't be the same 5 to 10 years from now. Yes, that is also true. So. Yeah, but I have a basic idea, a basic outline of how I want the project to look. The biggest thing is just a chunk of time investment that needs to be put into that. So, but like I said, I don't want to spend all time talking about this film. So, let's see here. Another person I have on this list is oddly David Bond. Well, I guess not oddly. I guess I interviewed his protege, Explorer Nick. I'm not sure if he'd be willing to do an interview. I'm not sure if I want to do an interview with him, but I'm guessing it will be something that I might consider, or if he pulls another stunt like he did in Taiwan. I mean, I definitely would like to pick his brain about how, I don't know, how he pulled off the things that he did in Taiwan, about how he set up fake news and everybody ran with it, and more people care about their emotions and such. Simon O'Chanam in the chat. I better go shopping then and get home and start getting my backdrops and clips ready for tomorrow's show. Going to be done, probably. Yes, I should probably shout out Simon O'Chanam's chat. He's interviewing my girlfriend tomorrow. So be sure to check that out tomorrow, 10:30 Japan Standard Time. I don't know what time it is, everybody. I guess if you're in Japan, 10:30. Elsewhere, it's probably sometime in the early morning if you want to catch the live show. So let's go down through here. Brandon Collins, nobody probably knows, but he's a writer. He writes about yokai. I've been trying to get him on the show for some time, but his schedule is very busy. So we'll see. We'll just keep on pushing it off until it happens. So, I have 2 more people on this list, and then I guess I'll call it quits for today. Simon Shannon, see you folks. Tell Shadow to watch tomorrow. Shadow is a big fan of this show. he seems to send a lot of games to me for me to play, just to see me play them. Big fan of this show. Thank you, Shadow. Shout out to Shadow. So another person on this list is probably somebody I've messaged, but I doubt she would do an interview, is Miss Hannah Minks. I've mentioned this on the Andy Sans podcast, who's in the chat right now. I don't think she's probably going to respond. I mean, I sent her a couple of messages. No response yet. I think because she's married and she has a kid. So he probably wants to escape from the internet. The same way that Texan in Tokyo did Grace. And what's the husband's name? Dosuke? Was it Dosuke? Ryuhei? I can't remember. Same reason why they left the internet is because they didn't want to be they didn't want to exploit their child's lives on the internet, and choosing not choosing that lifestyle, because those kids, they don't have the choice of wanting or not wanting to be on the internet. Because as I said once, and I'll say 100 times, as Philip DeFranco says, the internet is forever. So let's see. I think that about wraps it up. Oh, actually, no, that doesn't wrap it up. We also have, I've asked my friend, I have a friend named Rocky Kaneda. He's an actor. He was in, where was he in? He was in, he's an actor. He was in a bunch of famous movies. A lot of them you've probably seen. He was in the Beat Takeshi film Brother. I'm not sure if I'd be able to get him on the show because I think he's kind of new to the idea of podcasting. He speaks English. I mean, he was in Letters from Iwo Jima, a lot of major Hollywood movies where he was just a Japanese extra, and he lives here, and he does tarot reading, and he does a lot of what else does he do? He does a lot of karate. He did a lot of karate in like old movies in America. And so he did a lot of that. So I'm trying to get him on the show, but he seems kind of not familiar with the idea of what podcasting is, because this is kind of a relatively new medium, especially here in Japan. Sometimes if you introduce new mediums, sometimes they're not exactly familiar. Because I remember like when I introduced the idea of like video, streaming video, or just video itself being on websites, it seemed like we had to deal with, or at least friends I knew, I had to deal with a lot of middlemen not understanding the concept of having video on their website. So it doesn't surprise me that the idea of podcasting hasn't really taken off in Japan, or maybe it has, and I'm unaware, and I live under a rock. And my girlfriend's home. Hi. Hi. All right. Shadow says, "What's up, Kiki?" The Andy-san says, "What's up, Kiki?"
Hi.
Hi. Do you want to be on video?
Sure.
Okay, should be on video later. So, let's see. I mentioned Rocky. Was there someone else? Oh, there's also, was it Robert? I think it was Robert from MyChan TV. Maybe you're familiar with MyChan. Higo Simon made a show called, or not a show, he made a service called MyChan, which helps separate your subscriptions into bundles, so it's easier to watch the videos. That eliminates the problem with the algorithm that YouTube has set up. And he was the guy who developed it, or helped develop it, for Higo Simon. I was thinking about picking his brain. Robert, I forgot his last name. I have him on Facebook. I can probably message him at some point. And then there's also Zach Phoenix 787, or I think that's his name, who rents a building underneath, or he rents space underneath the MyChan TV, because the guy Robert, he owns a space called Ginza Hub, where people can go there to do whatever it is they want to do. I don't know how. It's just basically a rental space, and Zach Phoenix 787 rents that place out, and he seems very interested on opening or being a part of the show. So, and plus he has his own space, and I can probably get the show to look a little bit more professional by having better quality. This way it's not on Google Hangouts, and it's not on Slobs, or maybe it would be on Slobs, but getting to the point where it looks a bit more professional, where there's soundproofing and there's multiple cameras and stuff like that. So And I've asked John Clemens, the what's his name? The guy from the Book of Host. Not sure if I'm allowed to say his last name. Oh well, too late now. The Book of Host, the Mormon guy, and he seems to be pretty busy. So until I can arrange to get him on the show, or when he's not busy, I'll probably get him here. That about wraps it up. That's about all I have on this list. If there's anybody who'd like to be on the show, I mean, I got that guy Fox in the chat who says he's interested. I will probably message him shortly after this. If you know of anybody you'd like to listen to, I know there's a few guests that some people have been interested in seeing interviews of. Be sure to write them down in the comments below. And this is Kiki shining a paper. What's this? Oh, I can show you this. Kiki passed her.
Show me the number.
What's that? Oh.
How about the number? You can show this.
What can I show? This?
Yeah.
Okay. So Kiki passed her driver's test. Here, ladies
just
and gentlemen.
One time. One time.
All right, one time. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Yeah, so just one time she passed her driver's test. Congratulations. Can I show them your picture?
No.
No? Okay. I can't show the picture. I think it's a fine picture. She doesn't like her picture. So, Kiki, I can't read the chat that way.
Okay.
Anyway, yes. All right. Yeah, so congratulations, Kiki, on passing your international motor traffic driving, excuse me. International, I know, international motor traffic international driving permit. Hey, I'm trying to get it right.
Okay, yeah, get good.
I am getting good. It is good. Okay. This is good content here. Yeah, no. Sure. All right, that about wraps it up. Like I said, stay tuned for more. There's a whole new schedule planned for October. Not sure what November is looking at, but that will be up soon. Next week on the show is Mr. Brian Walters, System Jap. It's Candy Time. The guy who was Ash Ketchum in the epic rap battles of history. He will be on the show next week. If anybody remembers Leo Bangs from 2009 or 2010, when was that? That was a show with old amateur show with him where he was playing a secret agent. It was a really fun experience. It was cringy as hell, but it was a very interesting project that we worked on a long time ago. So I'm very interested to talk to him, pick his brain to see what he's up to. He's on a couple of shows. He was Halt, Catch Fire, a couple of other big shows. So he will be on this show. And yeah, that's about it. So yeah, everybody, thanks for everybody for listening. And I am Radley, or I am Radrey. I don't know. How do I end this show? I got to come up with a procedure how to end and start these shows. I already got the procedure down pat for starting the show. I've been listening to a bunch of other podcasts about how to end the freaking show. And they always go, I'm George, and I'm Thomas, and see you next week. No, that's not what I want to say. How do they say that? Like, I got to study it more. All right. Until then, stay tuned next week for System Jap. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.